Legal marijuana coffee is now coming to the state of Washington. Quote, the cold-brewed cannabis-infused coffee called Legal is expected to hit the market in early July, product developer Adam Stites told the Huffington Post on Monday. They say that the high is described as alert and creative. It's been given the official nickname, the Wake and Bake drink, which is hilarious. Each bottle contains about 20 milligrams of THC, and according to the developer, that's enough to make the experience similar to having an IPA, for example, or a glass of wine. The company that makes it, Mirth Provisions, has also developed sparkling cherry, lemon ginger, and pomegranate juices with weed infused in it as well. And this stuff, man, I find this so interesting. I've seen so many great shows. One of them, I think, was on Vice. Another one I saw somewhere else. But they basically went into the marijuana industry. I think in this case it was in Colorado, but the one we're discussing here is in Washington. And what they found is that naturally when you legalize a product, now, of course, at the federal level, it's still illegal. So there's this weird discrepancy in the laws that they're going to have to iron out in one way or another. But whenever you legalize a drug, or any product for that matter, you're of course going to get much more creativity and much more innovation and much more interesting ways to ingest the product. You know, there's so many different ways in a legal marijuana industry. They make all these different pot candies, pot gummy bears, pot energy drinks, delicious different baked goods. They basically set it up so like it's a weed bar, you know? And it's also safer. Let's keep that in mind too. How whenever you have prohibition against a drug, what happens is you force it underground into the black market. And now, by definition, you're going to have criminals who are willing to sell the product. So whenever there's some sort of a problem, it's solved with guns in a back alley or in a drive-by, as opposed to being solved, if it was legal, by men and women wearing suits and blouses going to court. You know, when you legalize a product, you make it much less dangerous. And, I mean, this is what happened with prohibition in the U.S. when it came to alcohol, for example. I mean, we've discussed this time and time again, but when alcohol was illegal, what would often happen is they would make the alcohol in bathtubs. And sometimes they would cut it with dangerous chemicals. And every once in a while, there would be a bad batch, and you would die from having one shot of, you know, whatever kind of hard liquor it is. And that doesn't happen when the product is legal. Because when it's legal, it's regulated. And when it's regulated, it's safer. You know? And by the way, the same thing even applies to prostitution. Go look anywhere where prostitution is illegal, and what do you inevitably find? It's dirty, it's disease-ridden, you're dealing with dangerous people. But where it's illegal, like for example, right outside of Las Vegas, everybody gets tested like once a week or once a month or whatever it is, and there's never STDs that are transferred. Everything is safe. The quality is better. You're dealing with a friendly environment. They're not criminals. You know, oftentimes there's a great show that, believe it or not, Stossel did, where he spoke to a lot of these women who worked at the brothel. And they were like, no, we love our jobs. We make really, really good money, and we have great benefits. And it was amazing. It's amazing to watch it. So it blows people's minds. But the idea is when you make something illegal, it becomes much more dangerous. It's not like the thing is dangerous in and of itself. And that's not to say that, like, all drugs are great. No, of course not. There's good drugs and drugs that are rather neutral and some drugs that are really bad for you. But it also just so happens that most of the drugs that are really, really bad for you, like, for example, crystal meth or crocodile. Crystal meth is like the cheap man's cocaine. Crocodile is like the cheap man's heroin. The reason why those drugs even exist is because cocaine and heroin are illegal. So they have to make these cheaper derivatives in the black market, and they're cutting it with fucking diesel fuel and all this terrible shit that rots out your teeth, and in the case of crocodile, it literally gives your rots your skin from the inside out and gives you necrosis, and you die within a year of ingesting that drug. So, look, man, the problem is the prohibition, okay? And then, again, when you legalize it and you make it just a normal part of society, it's fun. It's a fun thing to be around. I mean, think about how many different types of alcohol there are. And when you go to a bar, all the choices you have to get ripped with your friends. And it's a fun experience, man. Sure, there are some people in a society that go too far and become alcoholics, and it does ruin their lives. But we all understand that that's not an argument to ban alcohol. You know, you can't let a few bad apples spoil the bunch. Essentially, we say, look, it sucks, man, but it's your own problem. I mean, it sounds kind of callous, but we're not going to ban the product for everybody else because you fucked up. That flies directly in the face of freedom. So it should be the same thing for marijuana, and it should be the same thing for all drugs, in my opinion. Because I love the idea of it being this experience, that you can go to this place and you can purchase whatever kind of way you want to get high, and you could, you know, there's certain types of marijuana that get you up, certain kinds that get you down, certain kinds that have a more, you know, psychedelic aspect to it. That's a fascinating thing, and we shouldn't feel like criminals for engaging in these things because, again, if you actually believe in freedom, then you believe in the idea that somebody should put in their body whatever they want if they're not hurting anybody else. So legal marijuana coffee, that sounds like a fucking awesome thing. I'm all for it, and I hope it comes to all 50 states sooner or later.